Embers Adrift is an old-school-inspired MMORPG that recently launched to a hopeful yet equally critical reception in late 2022, targeting players who enjoy classic titles like EverQuest, Ultima Online, and Vanilla WoW. Embers Adrift has tried to carve out its MMO niche by focusing on group-based, difficult overworld content and slower progression. Besides some expected bugs, what's keeping it from greatness, and what does the game need to do to get there? Let's find out, and continue watching to learn how you can win a free copy of Embers Adrift. Community-driven, mutual interdependence, socialization. These are hallmark components of classic MMOs that have fallen to the wayside in lieu of accessibility and ease, a topic that I previously covered. Embers Adrift attempts to recreate the original magic of when we first grouped up in Clan Crushbone. In part, it succeeds. In order to safely and consistently progress, you need to rely on others. In Raf Koster's terminology, it's a high-trust MMORPG in which your success depends on the right choices made by other players. Thankfully, it is this very type of player who is likely to try Embers Adrift, so there's little issue finding a group or starting your own. Moreover, combat is slower and more situational. Instead of memorizing rotations like in Guild Wars 2 or WoW, you use only a few abilities over the entire course of an extended brawl. While this makes your actions more impactful by virtue of their rarity, others have noticed that its current implementation can cause combat to feel comparatively boring, even for an old-school inspired MMO.
Like that, whenever I see that, I don't think to myself, oh man, I better download it right now. Oh my god.
This is the result of each class only having 2 to 3 abilities for the first 6 hours of game time, some with a long cooldown, or requiring a group to use. Thus, the amount of skill choices you make per combat is low. This, surprisingly, is in stark contrast to EverQuest design, in which you have an array of spells to use. Even as a level 1 druid, you're almost never waiting for a cooldown to finish. You're constantly gambling on the ROI between a spell's mana cost, its expected efficacy, and your available mana pool. Or consider a newbie bard in Ultima Online is constantly juggling their crowd control songs. Both of these classic MMOs still maintained a high skill use per encounter. They simply avoided skill bloat. Thus, while Embers Adrift thankfully avoids the rotation meta of modern MMOs, its combat can still feel passive despite its classic roots. Brightlife explains it thus.
The combat feels like it has a lot of heart, but it needs something a little bit more to make it more engaging. It feels a little bit too I hit you and then you hit me, as opposed to actually having an engaging system of combat.
But combat does have redeeming factors. Like in Lineage 2 or Drakensang Online, you can use reagents to empower abilities, or you can take advantage of positional benefits to more effectively bring down foes. Teamwork is essential, and communication is key. So if you want to try out Embers Adrift, keep watching to learn how to win a free key. Immersion, another admirable trait of Embers Adrift. The world is dark and unforgiving. Dangerous foes roam about, and you aren't the hero until you prove you are without a main quest telling you so. Bugs congregate around lights at night, and insects join together in a chorus around you. But Embers Adrift suffers equally in this category too. For example, the game still seems to use Unity's default lighting, which can create too much specular reflection, effectively blinding the player. Moreover, not having its own lighting profile causes the visual experience to feel generic. Visually compare these two scenes. Even more, the lighting effects on the skin remind me of Shroud of the Avatar, as the skin tones look plastic. Lighting issues invert too, with second-order problems. It's fine if darkness is dark. Ultima Online and EverQuest both use it to great effect, but Embers Adrift's implementation shoots at the wrong target. For example, in EverQuest, you can access light via spells or items while still being able to engage in combat. But in Embers Adrift, using a torch activates a stance that prohibits you from fighting, at least if you main a two-handed weapon. Thus, you trade your combat prowess for torch holding. Sure, you can place torches, yet this feels like a tax without any long-term benefit. So darkness is not a feature that produces fun, but frustration. Another problem is the pacing of dungeons. While Embers Adrift takes inspiration from EverQuest in terms of the difficulty of each individual creature, it needs to carefully study its dungeon design. In Embers Adrift, the placing of mobs and their respawn timers encourage groups to roam freely and attack anything that pops. This makes sense if the dungeon is instanced, but they aren't. This consequently means that several parties aimlessly run through empty corridors, competing for the scarce resources available. In EverQuest, the density of creatures and their respawn timers encourage parties to settle in distinct areas, effectively claiming it and its associated mobs for the duration of the group. This both protected players and provided clear boundaries from competition. Unfortunately, neither currently exist in Embers Adrift, causing players like him to be frustrated, not a feeling designers want associated with a leisurely activity like playing a game. This dichotomy between the inspiration of classic MMOs and its current unfinished state produces very mixed responses, even from potential superfans.
For me personally, I'm enjoying the loop. Some of the loop, some of it I hate, some of it I enjoy, which I think will probably be a common theme.
But sound is still another problem. Have you ever played Project Gorgon? Embers Adrift uses the same level up effect. Sounds like these. Help separate your title from your competitors. Plus, just feel the difference in feedback. Most skills don't have audio windups or satisfying phonic conclusions. Moreover, imagine if sounded like. Not only is its audio profile incomplete, yet the game struggles to keep a stable frame rate. I'm not alone here.
Unfortunately, whenever I play this game, the fans on my computer go absolutely nuts.
While a workaround is disabling shadows, releasing an MMO without adequate optimization is like casting a line without bait. A fish may be initially curious by the glint of reflecting sunlight, yet may not be compelled to bite. Remember when EverQuest 2 launched and hardly anyone could run the game? Also recall when WoW released and we all just played that instead? While there were many reasons why Vanilla WoW was generally received better than EverQuest 2, performance was certainly one of them. In fact, Embers Adrift's development team themselves are cognizant that many interested players may not be able to even render their game world. Staggeringly, for these reasons, this player felt like Embers Adrift is best seen as an advertisement for Project 1999. Imagine selling a bike that your target audience would struggle to even ride.
Just steer more now. Oh my God! No!
But these complaints aside, Embers Adrift is the only recently released MMORPG that offers difficult overworld content, focusing on group gameplay with deep socialization. Many players were exceptionally friendly, generous, and excited to share their world with newcomers. Additionally, there is no item shop, just a simple box price and a subscription. For this point alone, I admire their efforts and vision. Every problem I mentioned above can be remedied with time and tuning, and I hope Embers Adrift finds their successful niche. I expect that it will be an enjoyable and polished MMO, yet for now, only those willing to brave what is effectively a paid beta should venture onwards. Regardless, if Embers Adrift looks fun to you, I want to help. I will gift a free copy to a subscriber who comments below within the next 7 days. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more MMO content.